Bizarre Brain Comics.
We also have alternate menus for your dining pleasures. Brains topped with eyeballs.
Hello. Gary here for Bizarre Brain Comics. This is where I like to take a look at some older comics, talk a little bit about the characters and creators, and examine the stories and the art. And we are still doing our month of Halloween Fest. Doing a lot of spooky stuff. Halloween related stuff. And this time, I want to take a look at this book right here that Igor is holding for me. This is Dr. Spektor Presents Spine Tingling Tales. Now, this is not a proper Dr. Spektor book. It's not part of the occult files of Dr. Spektor. But this is from 1974 from Gold Key Comics. It has the Whitman imprint on it. So it was printed and distributed in plastic bags of like 3 or 5 or whatever it was to stores like Kmart and department stores, stuff like that, grocery stores, what have you. And it's got 2 stories in this book. We're going to look at one of them. But the story we're going to look at, it was written by Don Glut, who is the creator of Dr. Spektor. And I've talked about him at length before. He had done some writing for the Warren Horror magazines in the 60s and 70s. Got on with Gold Key, writing stories for their mystery titles. Created Dr. Spektor. It was originally just intended to be a horror host, as he plays the part right here, and he had his own series of stories, and then had a backup story in which he was a horror host for that. Now I liked that format. Partially because sometimes the characters who appeared in the backup horror story, mystery story, would then appear in sometimes as a reoccurring figure in the main Dr. Spektor story. And Don Glut, he tried to build a comic universe for Gold Key, and Gold Key was not interested in that, but he did a little bit anyway. He created Dagar, the Invincible, Sword and Sorcery, and that stuff played into the Dr. Spektor stories. Had another barbarian character from the time of Dagar, who appeared in Dagar and also appeared in Dr. Spektor. And he also had a couple of stories featuring Gold Key / Dell characters, superheroes, Man of the Atom and the Owl, which made brief appearances in both of those. And he also had Dragon the Sky Gods, which was about ancient astronauts in prehistoric times, which also ties in with these other things. So he tried to weave a larger universe than just that. But in herein, while it has two stories, I think he may have written both of them, but I'm only sure of the one. So let us join Dr. Spektor in Spine Tingling Tales. And here you have that cover painting for this. And it may have been originally a painting for a different title. See, these things, they are reprints. And one of them is from Grimm's Ghost Stories, and the other one, it says Midnight Mysteries, which was just used which is before they had used the Dr. Spektor title. These were for stories that were created specifically for the DC Comics mystery digests, and those mystery digests were reprints of some of their mystery stories, mystery titles. One of the different mystery titles in rotation, like Boris Karloff and Twilight Zone and stuff like that. And they would be mostly reprint stories with an occasional new story specifically for that volume. See, in here we have the first page, which has Dr. Spektor introducing, what's coming up. I said there's two stories. There are two comic stories and one text story. He mentions all these here. One is Burial at Sea. The text story is The Amazing Mr. Home. And then A Tree Grows in Transylvania, about a vampire, which was definitely written by Don Glut. And then here you see this story, Burial at Sea. It still has the Grimm's Ghost Stories host, Hepzibah Grimm, from the original story that it was. This may have been written by Don Glut. I don't know. There's no credits, and it was drawn by Dan Spiegel, who did so much stuff for Gold Key. And of course, it's a piratey story, pirate ghosty story. The Amazing Mr. Home text story, and then here we go. Here's what I'm looking for. A Tree Grows in Transylvania. It says Midnight Mysteries, and this was originally for a one of the Mystery Comics Digest. And this story is drawn by Jesse Santos, who also drew all of the issues of Dr. Spektor, Cult Files of Dr. Spektor, as well as the Dragon the Sky Gods, with the exception of a couple of issues, and Dagar the Invincible, Sword and Sorcery title, as well as a few other things. I guess I had thought that all of his stuff that I had seen had been written by Don Glut, and I was mistaken. I had completely forgotten that he drew several issues of the what do you call them? Brothers of the Spear, the Jungle Stories. So, and Jesse Santos, he's a great artist in his own right. I don't think I've ever seen him do anything that wasn't this kind of stuff. I don't think I've ever seen him do anything for the other major publishers. He was a Filipino artist. I talked about him at length before, and started doing work for for American publishers, and you can see his if you see his body, a whole body of work, you can see his style evolve till later on he had he still had some hair, but later on he had more of a kind of a scribbly style to it, which is kind of appealing. But this splash page here, this is the story has the vampire Baron Tibor, who is created by Don Glut, and his equivalent to Dracula, and he does make several appearances later on in Dr. Spektor, but in this story, and he's as a reformed vampire, but here he's unreformed, and we see this lovely, and this is beautiful Gothic imagery here. This lovely lady, of course, in the long gown dress, walking through the foggy night with a spooky tree in a graveyard. What's more Gothic than that? And she says, "Oh, I don't know why, but I must come here. I cannot resist." And then this big flat bat flutters by and startles her. Meanwhile, this girl's father is out looking for her. He says, "It's a good thing I followed Morgott. My daughter has been acting peculiarly lately." And he gets to the graveyard, and there she is on the ground with this bat around her. And he knows it's a vampire, because this is in Eastern Europe. He's got the cross and wards the bat off with the cross. "Vampire, begone, you demon!" Then Baron Tibor, here he is in his human form, as the father carries the girl Morgott away. He says, "This is the work of the vampire Baron Tibor." He gets the doctor and says, "Oh, just 2 punctures on her throat, and she's lost blood. There's no doubt your daughter has been bitten by one of the undead." He says, "I've done all I can for now. It's up to you." He said, "Oh, what am I going to do?" And he gets garlic hanging around the house and stuff like that. And he looks out the window, and there in the distance he sees Baron Tibor forced to stay outside. And it's some lovely, really lovely artwork. It's very lovely face there. And this splash panel back here, I think that in itself would make a lovely pinup image or cover to a Gothic romance. Gothic horror story. So he sees Baron Tibor out there, and he gets all of his friends together and says, "Baron Tibor has placed my own daughter under a spell, so we must destroy him." And then, of course, the torch and pitchfork wielding villagers head up to the castle, and they break in, trying to find the Baron. "We must keep searching. I can before nightfall, so I can drive this stake through his heart." Yada yada yada. And while they're looking, the sun goes down, but the Baron is already gone, and he's back in his escape as a form of a mist, and reforms himself here, and now telepathically, psychically commanding, Morgott, come to me, your master commands." And she hears, and she must obey. And this is a really fine portrait, and it looks like it is drawn from a photograph, perhaps based on Christopher Lee, I think, possibly. I can't be sure, but it just looks like it's from photographic reference. It says, "I am here," and she goes, "Oh, here," and here's just another lovely drawing here of this lady. He did just such great work in this field. And just as he's about to, "Oh, I was right. He hides where his victims are buried. Hurry before he destroys Morgott." And we got some ads. And there, just as he's about to get her, the wind has come up, and that spooky old tree, which has been dead for ages, collapses, and impales Baron Tibor through the heart. So he's got a wooden stake, and he just disintegrates to a skeleton. And Morgott is saved. Oh, says, oh. And then as the tree had collapsed, its roots uprooted, and there they see all these skeletons of some of his victims, which under the roots of this tree. And he said, over the years, the roots grew among the bones of the Baron's victims, almost as if their collective souls were in the tree, making it move. Perhaps they have all been avenged. Oh, I think this is nice. Each of these stories was 10 pages long, and just a little bit longer than the usual for this Gold Key story. Perhaps that's why they were put in this volume. And Spine Tingling Tales. This is issue 4. They had only a few occasional issues. I don't know how long it run, and it was, to my knowledge, all the ones that I've seen were reprints from other titles later, and may have been specifically for these Whitmans. I don't know. But so I hope you enjoyed that. That's a lot of fun. Because I really enjoy Don Glut's and Jesse Santos's works. Jesse has been dead for several years, but Don Glut is still writing, and the large Warrant black and white horror magazines, which I've done some short videos on. And so please like, share, subscribe, and thank you for joining me. Leave a comment, and remember, comics are art.